Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I just saw the probable cause affidavit has been unsealed in the Delphi case. So let's read it together. I have not looked at this at all. So this is actually a first look for me. So hopefully you'll get a take on this that maybe you don't get from anybody else. So let's read this. Okay, we start with the cause of the case. It's the state of Indiana versus Richard M. Allen. Probable cause affidavit. I, the undersigned affiant, submit the following information pursuant to Indiana Code 353372 as sworn affidavit setting forth the facts and circumstances known to law enforcement of Carroll County as basis for probable cause to arrest without a warrant or to establish probable cause for issuance of an arrest warrant for the above named defendant. That the facts and circumstances described below would be sufficient basis for a person of reasonable caution and prudence to believe that the accused has committed or attempted to commit the offenses described, and that if arrested without a warrant, such would be authorized under the Indiana Code. That the hearsay statements of witnesses contained herein are considered reliable and credible due to the witness's personal knowledge and or are corroborated by the totality of the circumstances. Okay, so then the next paragraph. So what this is saying is there are some hearsay statements of witnesses, but they think these witnesses are essentially credible and reliable. So that tells me we're going to hear some witness statements. Note that witness statements can be sometimes unreliable, but when you have more than one witness, the reliability factor goes up. So let's get into it. That on February 14th, 2017, Victim 1 and Victim 2 were found deceased in the woods approximately 0.2 miles northeast of the Monon High Bridge in Carroll County. Their bodies were located on the north side of Deer Creek. At the time, the Monon High Bridge Trail was an approximately 1 mile gravel trail terminating at the Monon High Bridge. The Monon High Bridge is an abandoned railroad trestle approximately 0.25 miles long, spanning the Deer Creek and Deer Creek Valley on the southeast end of the trail. Approximately 0.7 miles northwest on the trail from the northwestern edge of the Monon High Bridge is the Freedom Bridge, which is a pedestrian bridge spanning State Road 25. Approximately 350 feet west of the Freedom Bridge was a former railroad overpass over Old State Road 25, also known as County Road 300 North. The trail terminates just west of the former railroad overpass. The majority of the trail is in a wooded area with a steep embankment on the south side of the trail. The entirety of the trail and the location of the girls' bodies were and are located in Carroll County, Indiana. Through interviews, reviews of electronic records, and review of video at the Hoosier Harvest Store, investigators believe Victim 1 and Victim 2 were dropped off across from the Mears farm at 1:49 p.m. on February 13th, 2017 by redacted. This is how they're going to do the redactions, I guess. They're going to Photoshop out, put a white box. So that's the redactions. They don't stick out. They stick out a lot when they're black boxes. Okay, so we know who dropped them off, and that is Kelsey German. And I'm speculating that the redactions are going to also involve the witnesses then, because that's a witness we knew, so why redact that name? But it's redacted. The Mears farm is located on the north side of County Road 300 North, near an entrance to the trails. A video from Victim 2's phone shows that on 2:13 p.m., Victim 1 and Victim 2 encountered a male subject on the southeast portion of the Monon High Bridge. Okay, 2:13. The phone shows that's when they encountered him. The male ordered the girls, guys, down the hill. Okay, so people had speculated that those two guys and down the hill were cobbled together from two different portions of the video. Perhaps not, because that's not what's sworn to here. No witnesses saw them after this time. No outgoing communications were found on Victim 2's phone after this time. Their bodies were discovered on February 14th, 2017. Oh, so they're not mentioning the crime scene. Everything thus far is in the public knowledge except for the fact that Guys Down the Hill was one complete declarative statement. The video recovered from victim 2's phone shows victim 1 walking southeast on the Monon High Bridge while a male subject wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her. As the male subject approaches victim 1 and victim 2, one of the victims mentions gun. Near the end of the video, a male is seen and heard telling the girls, "Guys down the hill." The girls then begin to proceed down the hill and the video ends. A still photograph taken from the video and the "Guys Down the Hill" audio was subsequently released to the public to assist investigators in identifying the male. Okay, so we now know that as they proceeded down the hill, there is some video footage. It's probably shaken up, janky, maybe was put in a pocket. We don't know. And it was definitely speculated that one of the victims had said the word gun. Now it's here in the affidavit. Of course, many people had speculated that is how Bridge Guy got the two girls to do exactly what he wanted. It was because he used force of a gun, threat of a gun. Some people even think they can see the gun in his jacket. I kind of agree. It looks like he's holding something in his jacket. So yeah, he didn't use his firm coach voice to tell two teens to get off the bridge. You know, some people thought it was just a guy that they just listened to him, but no, gun. Victim 1 and victim 2's deaths were ruled as homicides. Clothes were found in the Deer Creek belonging to victim 1 and victim 2, south of where their bodies were located. There was also a .40 caliber unspent round less than 2 feet away from victim 2's body, between victim 1 and victim 2's body. The round was unspent and had extraction marks on it. Wow, that's physical evidence. You know, when they have ballistics and they have a gun, and you know how they can do microscopic examinations and look at the striations to see if a bullet has been fired from a gun. So I guess when they say unspent round, a .40 caliber unspent round means it's unfired, correct? So it means that maybe a bullet fell, an unfired bullet fell and was between the two victims' bodies, but when it says extraction marks on it, that implies that it was in something and popped out. So did that mean that he had chambered the round and for whatever reason it jammed and he popped it out, or just decided to take it out, or those bullets had at one point been in a gun and then taken out of the gun? Leave your comments below, because I'm not a firearms expert, but that's what I assumed what happened here, that gun was used to threaten. Maybe it jammed and he extracted the bullet, or maybe he had put those bullets in that gun before and they just were in his pocket. Leave your comment below. Interviews were conducted with 3 juveniles, redacted and redacted. They advised they were on the Monon High Bridge on February 13th, 2017. They advised they were walking on the trail toward Freedom Bridge to go home when they encountered a male walking from Freedom Bridge toward the Monon High Bridge. Redacted described the male as, quote, kind of creepy, end quote, and advised he was wearing, quote, light blue jeans, a really light blue jacket, and his hair was gray, maybe a little brown, and he did not really show his face, end quote. She advised the jacket was a duck canvas type jacket. Redacted advised she said hi to the male, but he just glared at them. She recalled him being in all black and had something covering his mouth. She described him as, quote, not very tall with a bigger build. She said he was not bigger than 5'10". Redacted advised he was wearing a black hoodie, black jeans, and black boots. She stated he had his hands in his pockets. Redacted showed investigator photographs she took on her phone while she was on the trail that day. I just want to stop and make a note. We're talking about the juveniles. They were redacted their names. So far, all the witnesses have been redacted. If they're saying she, so that tells me it's likely female juveniles. Also, just want to note that you have 2 different witnesses stating under oath that they saw the same suspect. One's describing him as wearing a black hoodie, black jeans, and black boots. The other one's describing him with light jeans, light jacket. So the witnesses aren't really saying the exact same thing. See what I was saying earlier about witnesses are just not 100%. It's just how we're wired. We're not hardwired to hyper focus on things, especially if they don't realize that it was important. It was going to be important. I would much rather have an unspent striated casing or unspent round that had markings on it that's maybe going to match a gun than have two witnesses in your probable cause affidavit not exactly saying the same thing. Redacted showed investigators photographs she took on her phone while she was on the trail that day. The photographs included a photo of the Monon High Bridge taken at 12:43 p.m. and another one taken at 1:26 p.m. of the bench east of the Freedom Bridge. Redacted advised after she took the photo of the bench, they started walking back towards Freedom Bridge. She advised that was when they encountered the man who matched the description of the photograph taken from victim two's video. Redacted described the man she encountered on the trail as wearing a blue or black windbreaker jacket. She advised the jacket had a collar and he had his hood up from the clothing underneath his jacket. So hoodie, guys, hoodie under the jacket. She advised he was wearing baggy jeans and was taller than her. She advised her head came up to approximately his shoulder. She advised Redacted said hi to the man and that he said nothing back. She stated he was walking with a purpose, like he knew where he was going. She stated he had his hands in his pockets and he kept his head down. She advised she did not get a good look at his face, but believed him to be a white male. The girls advised after encountering the male, they continued their walk across Freedom Bridge and the old railroad bridge over Old State Road 25. So what they're telling us here is that this encounter happened around 1:26. I do see here it says match the description of the photograph taken from victim's video. I assume this is their conclusion from all the totality of the evidence, because I don't see here on this date the witnesses were shown a picture of blank and they have conclusively determined they believe blank to be the person they saw on the bridge that day. I don't see that here in this probable cause affidavit. Just saying, I don't see that. I see maybe a conclusion, but I don't see supporting facts for that. And to be really clear, you wouldn't just show witnesses a picture of Richard Allen. You would show them a lineup of photos. You would show them all kinds of a range of photos and them that were similar. And then they would have to try to pick out who they think the person is. You wouldn't ever want to load up a witness. But what I'm saying is I don't see here that they already have shown them a different lineup or something and that they had determined that that's who they thought it was. I don't know why that's not in here, because they didn't do it yet, because the witnesses couldn't determine that it was Richard Allen because they didn't see his face. I don't know. Investigators spoke with Redacted, who advised she was on the trails on February 13, 2017. Video from the Hoosier Harvest Store captured Redacted vehicle traveling eastbound at 1:46 p.m. toward the entrance across from the Mears farm. Redacted advised she saw 4 juvenile females walking on the bridge over Old State Road 25 as she was driving underneath on her way to park. Redacted advised there were no other cars parked across from the Mears farm when she parked. She advised she walked to the Monon High Bridge and observed a male matching the one from victim two's video. Okay, side note, that seems like a conclusion from the file. She described the male she saw as a white male wearing blue jeans and a blue jean jacket. Side note, now we have 2 of the witnesses describing the male in the same way. White male, blue jeans, blue jean jacket. She advised he was standing on the first platform of the Monon High Bridge, approximately 50 feet from her. She advised she turned around at the bridge and continued her walk. She advised approximately halfway between the bridge and the parking lot across from Mears Farm, she passed two girls walking toward Monon High Bridge. She advised she believed the girls were victim 1 and victim 2. Video from the Hoosier Harvestor shows at 1:49 p.m. a white car matching redacted vehicle traveling away from the entrance across from the Mears Farm. Redacted advised she finished her walk and saw no other adults other than the male on the bridge. Side note, so essentially this timeline is getting narrowed down to the minute, and then having a witness saying, these are the victims, I saw these people, and that dude was the only one on the bridge around that time. So essentially later on, if you've got him pinging off the bridge, it's like, yep, it was you. This is kind of seemingly like what we're doing is getting the timeline down and getting the witnesses and the cell phone information and the video from this Hoosier Harvestor, all this information down to who was where at what time. Her vehicle is seen on the Hoosier Harvestor video at 2:14 p.m. leaving westbound from the trails. Redacted advised when she was leaving, she noted a vehicle was parked in an odd manner at the old Child Protective Services building. She said it was not odd for vehicles to be parked there, but she noticed it was odd because of the manner it was parked back in near the building. Okay, so this is why they were asking the public about anyone seeing a vehicle parked at the old Child Protective Services building. It looks like this same witness not only saw the suspect on the bridge and also possibly saw the victims right before that, also when driving away saw the vehicle parked oddly at the CPS building. So this is a good witness. And it's backed up, like her actually being on the scene is backed up from this Hoosier Harvestor. So that's good. Investigators received a tip from Redacted in which he stated he was on his way to Delphi on State Road 25 around 2:10 p.m. on February 13th, 2017. He observed a purple PT Cruiser or a small SUV type vehicle parked on the south side of the old CPS building. 2:10. Okay, so 2:10. He stated it appeared as though it was backed in as to conceal the license plate of the vehicle. Redacted both drew diagrams of where they saw the vehicle parked, and their diagrams generally matched as to the area the vehicle was parked and in the manner in which it was parked. Okay, so they had both of these different witnesses draw diagrams of the CPS building and where they thought they saw this odd vehicle to the first witness and the PT Cruiser type vehicle that was backed in as to conceal a license plate. So Redacted advised he remembered seeing a smaller, dark-colored car parked at the old CPS building. He described it as possibly being a smart car. Redacted vehicles seen leaving at 2:28 p.m. on the Hoosier Harvestor video. So what I guess they're saying is this strange vehicle that two different witnesses have seen was there by 2:10. Investigators spoke with Redacted, who stated that she was traveling east on 300 North on February 13th, 2022. That's got to be a typo. That's probably 2017. And observed a male subject walking west on the north side of 300 North away from the Monon High Bridge. Redacted advised that the male subject was wearing a blue-collared jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody. She further stated that it appeared he had gotten into a fight. Investigators were able to determine from watching the video from the Hoosier Harvestor that Redacted was traveling on County Road 300 North at approximately 3:57. So are we to assume that if this is the same person, then the whole entire act was completed by 3:57 and he's seen walking away muddy and bloody? Through interviews, electronic data, photographs, and video from the Hoosier Harvestor, investigators determined that there were other people on the trail that day after 2:13 p.m. Those people were interviewed, and none of those individuals encountered the male subject referenced above, witnessed by the juvenile girls, Redacted, and redacted. Further, none of those individuals witnessed victim 1 and victim 2. Okay, I guess you're saying there's other people around that didn't exactly see the same thing, or didn't see something that others saw. Investigators reviewing prior tips encountered a tip narrative from an officer who interviewed Richard M. Allen in 2017. Okay, so Richard Allen has a narrative here. That narrative stated Mr. Allen was on the trail between 13:30 and 15:30. So that's 1:30 and 3:30. And he parked at the Old Farm Bureau building and walked to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. He noted one was taller and had brown hair or black hair. He did not remember description, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. He did not see anybody, although he stated he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. He stated there were vehicles parked at the High Bridge trailhead. However, he did not pay attention to them. He did not take any photos or video. Side note, the suspect here is admitting he was at the location, at the Monon High Bridge. He's putting himself there, essentially at the scene between the hours of 1:30 and 3:30. His cell phone did not list an IMEI, but did have the following. And there's some information here, and I don't know what that means. I don't know what that metadata type stuff is. Maybe it's some kind of a locate information. And it says potential follow-up information. Who were the 3 girls walking in the area of Freedom Bridge? Okay, so that comment there is from the narrative that was in the tip file. So I guess whoever took this information made a note to themselves, well, who were the 3 girls that saw Mr. Allen? Wow, okay. So this was the actual tip that was in the file. Investigators believe Mr. Allen was referring to the former Child Protective Services building. So that's referring to in his narrative that he said that was where he parked. The Old Farm Bureau building. So they believe that he was referring to the former Child Protective Services building. So he's putting his car there as well. Investigators believe the females he saw included redacted and redacted due to the time they were leaving the trail, the time he reported getting to the trail, and the descriptions the 3 females gave. Investigators discovered Richard Allen owned 2 vehicles in 2017. A 2016 black Ford Focus and a 2006 gray Ford 500. Investigators observed a vehicle that resembled Allen's 2016 Ford Focus on the Hoosier Harvest Store video at 1:27 p.m. traveling westbound on County Road 300 North in front of the Hoosier Harvest Store, which coincided with his statement that he arrived around 1:30 at the trails. Investigators note witnesses described the vehicle parked at the former Child Protective Services building as a PT Cruiser, small SUV, or smart car. Investigators believe those descriptions are similar in nature to a 2016 Ford Focus. On October 13, 2022, Richard Allen was interviewed again by investigators. He advised he was on the trails on February 13, 2017. He stated he saw juvenile girls on the trails east of the Freedom Bridge and that he went onto the Monon High Bridge. Richard Allen further stated he went out onto the Monon High Bridge to watch the fish. Later in his statement, he said he walked out to the first platform on the bridge. So far, seems to me that he's admitting to being there around the time of the crime and that he knows essentially that his information is also going to likely show that he was there, his phone, his car. So did anyone note in their talking heads that they interviewed him on February 13th, so that would have been the 5th year anniversary? Do you think that was just them going through their files and decided to call him on that date? Or do you think it spooked him? What do you think? Later in his statement, he said he walked out to the first platform on the bridge. He stated he then walked back, sat on a bench on the trail, and then left. He stated he parked his car on the side of an old building. He told investigators he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood. Note, I'm going to have to dig up a picture of a Carhartt jacket. I don't even know what that is. Is that a brand name? Continuing, he advised he may have been wearing some type of head covering as well. He further claimed he saw no one else except for the juvenile girls he saw east of the Freedom Bridge. He told investigators he owns firearms and that they are at his house. Richard M. Allen's wife, Kathy Allen, also spoke to investigators. She confirmed that Richard did have guns and knives at the residence. Why are we bringing up knives in this probable cause affidavit? So far, we've only had a mention of a gun. Now we're talking about knives. That tells me that there's something involving a knife probably at the crime scene. She also stated that Richard still owns a blue Carhartt jacket. On October 13th, 2022, investigators executed a search warrant of Richard Allen's residence at 1967. Let me just not say that out loud, just for doxing purposes. Even though you can read it here, it's obviously public record. Among other items, officers located jackets, boots, knives, and firearms, including a Sig Sauer model P226 40 caliber pistol with the serial number U625627. Between October 14th, 2022 and October 19th, 2022, the Indiana State Police Laboratory performed an analysis on Allen's Sig Sauer model P226. The laboratory performed a physical examination and classification of the firearms, function test, barrel and overall length measurement, test firing, ammunition component characterization, microscopic comparison, and NIBIN, N-I-B-I-N. The laboratory determined that the unspent round located within 2 feet of victim 2's body had been cycled through Richard M. Allen's Sig Sauer model P226. There you go, guys. There's your linkage. There's your evidence. There's your physical evidence. It's better than flimsy witness statements, but you add it all together, you get your circumstantial evidence, you get your physical evidence, you're going to have a case. And keep in mind, probable cause affidavit, the burden for that, the threshold's really low. You don't have to show all your cards, just enough cards. So, let's continue here. The laboratory remarked, an identification opinion is reached when the evidence exhibits an agreement of class characteristics and a sufficient agreement of individual marks. Sufficient agreement is related to the significant duplication of random striated impressed marks as evidenced by the correspondence of a pattern or a combination of patterns of surface contours. The interpretation of identification is subjective in nature and based on relevant scientific research and the reporting examiner's training and experience. So somebody's calling it a match, huh? Investigators then ran the firearm and found that the firearm was purchased by Richard Allen in 2001. So what that's telling you is that someone else didn't own it during that time period. He did. Richard Allen voluntarily came to the Indiana State Police Post on October 26, 2022. He spoke with investigators and stated that he never allowed anyone to use or borrow the Sig Sauer model P226 firearm. When asked about the unspent bullet, he did not have an explanation of why the bullet was found between the bodies of victim 1 and victim 2. He again admitted that he was on the trail, but denied knowing victim 1 or victim 2 and denied any involvement in their murders. So that's looking like there's solid evidence so far. Carroll County Sheriff's Department Detectives Redacted has been part of the investigation since it started in 2017. He's had an opportunity to review and examine evidence gathered in this investigation. Detective Redacted, along with other investigators, believe the evidence gathered shows that Richard Allen is the male subject seen on the video from victim 2's phone who forced the victims down the hill. Further, that the victims were forced down the hill by Richard Allen and led to the location where they were, you know what. If I say the word, then YouTube flags me. So, wow. On a side note, I haven't read anything that implies that there's another suspect. Also note that this is basically saying, due to this investigation, our detectives believe that he's the guy. Because it doesn't say here that the witnesses have identified Mr. Allen, or they picked him out of a photo lineup or something like that. It doesn't say that here. It's like saying, as a result of all the evidence, we believe that he's the one. Through the statements and photographs of the juvenile females and the statement of redacted, we're at the southeast edge of the trail at 12:43 east of the Freedom Bridge at 1:26 p.m. and walked across the former railroad overpass over Old State Road 25 after 1:26 p.m. and before 1:26 p.m. Well, that's weird. There's some typos here and there's some mistakes. Anyway, they walked the entirety of the trail and observed only one person, an adult male. Redacted vehicle seen on Hoosier Harvestor video at 1:46 p.m. and leaving at 2:14 p.m. and she stated she only saw one adult male. Redacted described the male in similar manners, wearing similar clothing, leading investigators to believe all four saw the same male individual. Okay, so did any of them pick him out of a lineup? Just out of curiosity. Investigators believe the male observed by Redacted and Redacted is the same male depicted in the video from victim 2's phone due to the descriptions of the male by the four females matching the male in the video. Furthermore, victim 2's video was taken at 2:13 p.m. and Redacted saw only one male while she was on the trail from approximately 1:46 to 2:14 p.m. So far, he admits he's there at the time, around the time of the murders, and so far they're saying that the ballistics will show that his bullet was unspent and found right between the bodies. So far that's the evidence. Investigators believe Richard Allen was the male seen by Redacted and the male seen in victim 2's video. Richard Allen told investigators he was on the trail from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. that day. Video from Hoosier Harvestor shows a vehicle that matches the description of Richard Allen's vehicle passing at 1:27 p.m. towards the former CPS building. The clothing he told investigators he was wearing matched the clothing of the male in victim 2's video and the clothing descriptions provided by Redacted. A vehicle matching the description of his 216 Ford Focus is seen at or around 2:10 p.m., 2:14 p.m., 2:28 p.m. at the former CPS building. Through his own admissions, Richard Allen walked the trails and eventually hiked to the Monon High Bridge and walked out onto the Monon High Bridge. A male subject matching Richard Allen's description was not seen on the trail after 2:13 p.m. Investigators identified other individuals on the trails or County Road 300 North between 2:30 p.m. and 4:11 p.m. None of those individuals saw a male subject matching the description of Richard Allen on the trail. Furthermore, Richard Allen stated that he only saw 3 girls on the trail who investigators believe to be Redacted. So what I take away from this is during that time period, he wasn't on the trail. He was down doing bad things to the girls on Ron Logan's property. Investigators believe Richard Allen was not seen on the trail after 2:13 p.m. because he was in the woods with victim 1 and victim 2. Exactly. Yeah, that's just what I said. An unspent .40 caliber round between the bodies of victim 1 and victim 2 was forensically determined to have been cycled through Richard Allen's 6-hour model P226. The 6-hour model P226 was found at Richard Allen's residence and he admitted to owning it. Investigators were able to determine that he had owned it since 2001. Richard Allen stated he had not been on that property where the unspent round was found, that he did not know the property owner, and that he had no explanation as to why a round cycled through his firearm would be at that location. See, now if he had said, "Oh, I'm a hunter and I can't say I've been at where the body was found. I didn't know where the body was found, but yeah, I hunted around the Monon High Bridge." He could have made something up. But he didn't even do that. Did he not realize that the bullet that he had cycled through his firearm, fell out of his pocket or whatever happened, that it jammed and was ejected, and he forgot in the heat of the moment to pick it up? We don't know these things. Furthermore, he stated that he never allowed anyone to use or borrow the 6-hour model P-226. Investigators believe that after the victims were murdered, Richard Allen returned to his vehicle by walking down County Road 300 North. Oh, so he walked down County Road to his car then, huh? Investigators believe he was seen by Redacted walking back to his vehicle on County Road 300 North with his clothes that were muddy and bloody. Now, again, they don't have to show all their cards, but if this witness that has seen this person has also linked it to Richard Allen, they would have probably put it in the probable cause affidavit, but it's not here. Don't know why. Redacted, along with the investigators, believe the statements made by the witnesses because the statements corroborate the timeline of the death of the two victims as well as coincide with the admissions made by Richard Allen. Further, the accounts relayed by Redacted and Redacted are similar in nature, and timestamps on the photographs taken by Redacted correspond to the times the juvenile females said they were on the trail and saw the male individual. And I went to get page 8, and this is it. This is the probable cause affidavit. This is what they're willing to show. This is the cards they're putting on the table. They obviously got it approved, and this is what they're going with so far. What do you think? Leave your comments below. Keep in mind, you don't have to show all your cards right away, but leave your comments below. I'm curious what you think, and now I'm going to watch and see what all the other YouTubers think, because I haven't watched anything, not even a news report. So let's see. And please, if you like this, please hit the like button. If you are following Delphi, sub me up. That way, next video that I upload, you'll see it. And without further ado, have an excellent day.